You walk out to your garden on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, feeling good about life. And then you see them. Hundreds of tiny green bodies clustered on the undersides of your pepper leaves, on your rosebuds, coating the new growth on your kale like a living carpet. Aphids, again. So you grab the neem oil, you spray every leaf, top and bottom, just like the bottle says. 3 days later, they are back. You try insecticidal soap. Same story. You search the internet for the latest organic miracle cure, you spend $30 on something with a fancy label, and by the following week, your aphids have not only returned, they have brought friends. Meanwhile, about an hour outside of Philadelphia, an Amish woman is harvesting clean, perfect peppers from a garden that has not seen a single aphid outbreak all season. No spray bottle on her shelf. No trip to the garden center. No internet search. Her grandmother did it this way. Her mother did it this way, and she does it this way, because it works. So what exactly is she doing that we are not? My name is Dennis Harwell. I have been gardening for over 30 years, and I have lost more battles with aphids than I care to count. For most of those years, I treated aphids like an enemy to be destroyed. I sprayed, I squished, I hosed them off with water every single morning like it was my second job. I even tried planting those so-called aphid-resistant varieties, which turned out to be only slightly less appetizing to them. And they always came back. Every single time. It was not until I started visiting Amish farm stands in Lancaster County and actually asking questions, real questions, not polite small talk, that I realized my entire approach was backward. I was treating the symptom and ignoring the cause. The Amish do not fight aphids. They make their gardens into places where aphids simply cannot thrive. And the methods are so straightforward that I genuinely felt foolish for not figuring them out sooner. Let me show you what they do, why the Amish approach works when spraying does not. Before we get into the steps, I want to explain something that changed my whole perspective. The Amish have a concept called Gelassenheit, Gelassenheit, which roughly means yielding to the natural order of things, working with the way the world was designed to work instead of trying to overpower it. When you spray an aphid, you are overpowering. You might kill the aphids on that plant today, but you have done nothing about why they showed up in the first place. You have also likely killed ladybugs, lacewings, and other insects that were about to solve the problem for you. The Amish approach is not about killing aphids. It is about creating conditions where aphid populations never explode to begin with. That distinction sounds subtle, but it is the difference between fighting a war every season and simply not having one. Here are the 4 methods they use. Step 1. The scent barrier. Aphids find their host, plants, primarily by smell. They are drawn to the specific volatile compounds that plants like roses, peppers, tomatoes, and brassicas release. The Amish figured out generations ago that if you surround vulnerable crops with plants that produce overwhelming competing scents, aphids get confused. They cannot locate their target. They move on. The most effective scent barrier plants I have seen used in Amish gardens and confirmed in my own beds over the past 5 seasons are garlic, chives, and French marigolds. Here is exactly how to plant them. Put garlic cloves directly into your vegetable beds in the fall, spaced about 4 to 6 inches apart, forming a border around whatever crops aphids hit hardest the previous year. Garlic's sulfur compounds are deeply repellent to aphids. The plants will be up and producing their scent by early spring, right when the first aphid generation hatches. For chives, plant them as a living edge along any bed that grows peppers, tomatoes, or lettuce. Space them about 8 inches apart. They are perennial, so you plant them once and they come back every year, getting thicker and more pungent each season. French marigolds go between your vegetable plants, not just along the edges. Space them 12 to 15 inches apart throughout the bed. Their roots release alpha-terphenol into the soil, which repels aphids and nematodes, and their pungent foliage scent masks the smell of your crops. This is not decoration, this is strategic defense. One Amish grower told me she has not had aphids on her peppers in over a decade, and the only thing separating her peppers from a neighbor's infested garden is a thick row of garlic and marigolds. That is not an exaggeration, that is what a scent barrier does. Step 2. The trap crop strategy. This one surprised me when I first saw it because it seems like the opposite of good sense. The Amish deliberately plant nasturtiums near their vegetable gardens, not to repel aphids, but to attract them. Nasturtiums are like candy to aphids. Given a choice between a nasturtium and your tomato plant, aphids will choose the nasturtium almost every time. This is called trap cropping, and it is brilliant in its simplicity. You sacrifice one inexpensive, easy-to-grow plant to protect the crops you actually care about. Nasturtiums cost almost nothing, grow in nearly any soil, and produce beautiful edible flowers as a bonus while they work. Here is how to set it up. Plant nasturtium seeds about 10 to 12 inches apart in a row or cluster roughly 3 to 4 feet away from your main vegetable beds. Not right next to them because you want the aphids drawn away from your crops, not toward them. Nasturtiums grow fast and flower heavily, which makes them irresistible. Once the aphids congregate on the nasturtiums, two things happen. First, the aphids are not on your vegetables. Second, those concentrated aphid colonies on the nasturtiums become a feeding station for ladybugs and other predators, which we will talk about next. You can also simply pull up heavily infested nasturtium plants and dispose of them, removing thousands of aphids from your garden in one handful. I will be honest, the first time I tried this, I was skeptical. Deliberately planting something to attract pests felt wrong, but it works. The nasturtiums take the hit so your food crops do not have to. Step 3. Recruit your army. Here is a number that changed the way I think about my garden. A single ladybug eats up to 5,000 aphids in its lifetime. One ladybug. A single green lacewing larva, sometimes called an aphid lion, can devour 200 aphids in a week. These insects are not just helpful. They are the most effective aphid control method that exists, more effective than any spray, any recipe, any product, and the Amish have been relying on them for generations. But here is the mistake most gardeners make. They go online and order a bag of 1,500 ladybugs, release them in the garden, and watch them fly away within 24 hours. Bought ladybugs leave because your garden has no reason for them to stay. The Amish do not buy beneficial insects. They create habitat that makes beneficial insects show up and never leave. This means planting flowers that provide nectar and pollen for adult beneficials throughout the entire season. Sweet alyssum is the single best plant for this purpose. It blooms continuously, stays low to the ground, and attracts hoverflies whose larvae are voracious aphid predators. Plant it as a living mulch between and around your vegetable crops, about 6 to 8 inches apart. Add dill and fennel that you allow to flower rather than harvesting them all. These attract parasitic wasps that are tiny, harmless to humans, and absolutely devastating to aphid colonies. And leave some things a little wild. A small patch of clover, a few flat stones for ground beetles to shelter under, an unmowed strip along the garden edge. Beneficial. Insects need shelter, not just food. An Amish garden always has these little rough edges, and those edges are doing more pest control than you can imagine. When I stopped keeping my garden so ruthlessly tidy and started planting sweet alyssum everywhere, my aphid problems declined dramatically within one full season. Not because I killed anything, because I invited the right guests. Step 4. Feed the plant, starve the aphid. This is the step most gardeners skip entirely, and it might be the most important one. Aphids do not attack all plants equally. They target weak plants, stressed plants, plants growing in poor soil without adequate nutrition. Research from university agricultural extension programs has consistently shown that plants grown in biologically active compost-rich soil produce higher levels of their own natural defense compounds. Healthy plants are genuinely harder for aphids to feed on. The Amish build their soil obsessively, aged manure, homemade compost, cover crops, turned under in spring. They have been doing this for generations, and their soil is alive in a way that most home garden soil simply is not. You can start closing that gap this season. Add 2 to 3 inches of finished compost to your beds and work it into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil. If your beds are established, top dress with an inch of compost and let the worms pull it down. In the fall, plant a cover crop like crimson clover or winter rye. When you turn it under in spring, it feeds the microbial life that makes nutrients available to your plants. Strong plants with access to balanced nutrition produce thicker cell walls and more of the chemical compounds that make them unappetizing to aphids. You are not killing pests with this method. You are growing plants that pests do not want. That is the Amish way, and it is the difference between treating symptoms every week and addressing the root cause once. Now, let me set your expectations honestly, because that is what this audience deserves. If you are dealing with a serious aphid infestation right now, today, these methods are not going to solve it by Thursday. For an active outbreak, a strong blast of water from your hose will knock aphids off your plants immediately and buy you time. That is fine as a short-term measure, but the 4 steps I just walked you through are your long-term solution. The scent barrier, the trap crops, the beneficial insect habitat, and the soil health. Give it 1 full growing season. By the middle of your 2nd season with these methods in place, you will see a genuine, lasting difference. Not perfection. Nature does not do perfection. But the kind of balance where you walk through your garden and realize you have not thought about aphids in weeks. If you are gardening in zones 3 through 5, plant your garlic border in late September or October so it establishes roots before the ground freezes. In zones 7 through 9, you can plant garlic as late as November, and your nasturtium trap crops can go in as early as March. The principles work everywhere. The calendar is the only thing that shifts. I want to leave you with something simple. For 25 years, I fought aphids. I spent money, I spent time, I tried every product and every trick the internet had to offer, and I lost. Then I watched how the Amish handle it, and I realized they were never fighting at all. They were just gardening in a way that made the fight unnecessary. That is what Gelassenheit looks like in practice. Not giving up, not ignoring the problem, yielding to the way nature actually works and letting that work in your favor. You can do the same thing. Pick one of these 4 steps and start this season. Plant the garlic border. Scatter some nasturtium seeds. Let the sweet alyssum fill in around your crops. Or just add compost and grow stronger plants. 1 step is all it takes to begin. I think you will be surprised how quickly the garden starts managing itself. Drop a comment and tell me which step you are trying first. And if you know a gardener who is still out there every morning with a spray bottle, send them this video. I will see you in the next one.